A couple of days ago, Sadistik dropped a new track titled Samsara, which is going to be on his upcoming EP, L'appel du Vide. Now, it's been a little while since we got a full project. I mean, it's been about a year, I'd say, since we got Delirium and Elysium. So, I mean, I'm excited, clearly, for new Sadistik. But, with that said, as it's the first new song, aside from Gasoline, that we've gotten this year, it's only right we go bar for bar and break down these lyrics. If you are new here, these breakdowns are basically where I'll go through the lyrics and give my interpretation of what the artist is trying to say. It's not always right, but it's just what I think it is. So if there's something that I misinterpreted or misread, feel free to let me know in the comments below. So it starts off with the first verse.
Try to stay positive, I'm in a negative place. I tried to apply all my paints in the negative space. I tried to describe all the pain just to take it away. I tried to invite them to stay in a dangerous place.
He's trying to stay positive in a negative place. I think that's something that a lot of people try to do in general. Like, if you're a more negative person as well, like, you realize that that's not the best thing at all times, so you try to find some way to be positive. Also, if you're just in a negative space, like, thinking positively may make it easier for you. And then he tries to apply all his paints in the negative space. So negative space in just, I guess, art is like any place that's just black. So, like, for example, this shirt, like, it's mostly black, and that's all the negative space, and then all the white is the things that you see, really. Or at least that's a very vague description of it. And he tried to describe their pain, just take it away. That's him. I mean, that's in his lyrics. He tries to go into certain things, and it's more to, I guess, take whatever someone else is dealing with and put it upon himself. I mean, that's a possibility. And then he tried to invite them to stay in a dangerous place. This so could be talking about the people who were in pain. And he is like, let's bring you here, which I think him reflecting on it now is like, oh, that was a dangerous place for you to be in. So if they're going through something, he put them in, or invited them to a place that might not be conducive to their healing.
Where ravens to play on planes with stakes they place inside their veins. We're faint, they're fake, but I'm the same. I hate my ways, it weighs me down. I'm bound to drown and blind to faith and fate, afraid.
So that dangerous place is where ravens are still playing. It's on the plains with stakes. So you can, in my mind, I imagine like farmland. So like in the plains, there's ravens, crows. It's probably easier to imagine crows like in like a cornfield or something. With stakes, I mean, stakes just put in the ground. I don't know what's on top of the stakes, but knowing Sadistik's lyrics and where he tends to go to, it's going to be something a little bit more morbid. Or, I mean, going into the next line, I guess, the stakes are being placed into their veins. And then we're vain, we're fake. So the stakes could be needles being placed like into your veins. And then we're vain, they're fake. Vanity and fakeness kind of go hand in hand at times. Like, you're so vain that you start to become fake. That's one way to go with it, I guess. But then, taking the they're fake line, he goes and says, but I'm the same, and I hate my ways, and it weighs me down. So he realizes that some of the things that he does or says may be fake as well, or at least in his mind, it's fake.
I can't defeat, I stay in phrase beneath LA alone, the rain won't fade away.
So he can't defeat whatever he's trying to overcome or fight. And, I mean, that's what a fray is. So, and these frays are beneath LA. And he's dealing with all these fights and frays alone. So that's why he can't, like, that's why he's thinking that he can't defeat it. And then the rain won't fade away. Like, rain is always seen as something sad, so that sadness, or like the sadness that he can't defeat whatever he's fighting, is just constantly there. This then goes into the chorus.
Samsara, now I know I'm getting my karma, keeping my above water. When I say I'm sorry, I'm shedding my armor. When I wake up, then you better be gone or go.
So Samsara, if I'm not mistaken, is this idea of, I guess, reincarnation. So and that makes sense because reincarnation and karma kind of go hand in hand, like to an extent. So karma being that if you do good things will happen to you. If you do bad things will happen to you. That can go a little bit further. So in some reincarnation ideas, like you can, like if you do something bad in your life, you will be reincarnated as something lesser, or you'll be reincarnated as something the same. If I think it's like for some religions, like you keep reincarnating until you reach the highest form, and then your soul just kind of goes, something like that. So, but here he's realized that he's been reincarnated, and now this is his karma because for whatever he has done, he's basically stuck repeating this. And when he's saying I'm sorry, he's shedding his armor. So saying sorry isn't the easiest for everyone. So like to do so, that's like making yourself more vulnerable. Like you're not protecting yourself anymore. Like you're taking off your armor to say that. Then we get into the second verse.
Thought I was alone in a haunted home, lost with the side of ghosts, looking with the monochrome bra. One day when the sky falls asleep, I wasn't like them. Trace all the steps where the god of crows walk.
So he thought originally that he was in a haunted house, all alone and lost. Going into his, I guess, horror theming, I guess. But then with the Sadikos look, there's a couple things that I found when I looked it up. The first thing that came up was of this like child who was in or irradiated by a nuclear bomb in Japan when she was like 2 years old and ended up living till she was 10. So that in itself is just tragic, but I think it's going more into the character from The Ring, like the Ring girl. But she's also been used in other film and novels, basically just a vengeful ghost. But here I think it's more of The Ring because of the look, and it's like the monochrome. Also, horror movie. And then one day when the sky falls, like when the world ends, they'll say, I wasn't like them. So they will realize that he was different. And not necessarily at the end of days, but maybe like when he passes, like people will say that.
Crop circle, scarecrow about his own plot, lost virtue, barefoot, rocks below steps, all hurt you, it's all I know, I just don't talk, when the particles part, my heart will survive in this.
Crop circle, scarecrow bought his own plot. That kind of goes back into the plains line from the first verse. So crop circles are typically in plain areas or like in a farmland, and they're always thought to be like done by aliens. But disregarding the alien part, the scarecrows are always in crops because they're trying to keep the crows away, which, I mean, he is also the god of crows, so how useful is that? But the scarecrow bought his own plot, and it's just amongst the crop circles. And then going on the barefoot rocks below steps, I'll hurt you, it's all I know, I just don't talk. I mean, if you walk barefoot and you're not used to walking barefoot, rocks are going to hurt your feet. But he's comparing that pain to what he does because he just doesn't talk. Like, there are things that happens that he just doesn't say anything about, and he'll just leave it at that.
Dark with the light in this spark from a type of flint water in a diet hiding in the lion's den. Words like a rain catcher first to the fire catch surge through the pain splatter birds in a wire mesh.
So it's dark, and the light in the dark is from a spark from flint. So to start fires, you strike flint, typically with a stone, I believe. But you know, you spark it, and then that's how you start a fire. Then he goes into flint water in our diets. So flint, if you aren't aware, has a very poor water system, and I don't think they've still really addressed it. So that water is in us, like it's in our diets. It's like hiding in the lion's den. So I mean, you don't expect that to be in the water, basically. And then search through the paint splatter birds in a wire mesh. I don't know where he's going there, but I can only assume like that's kind of tying in the scarecrows and the raven and the god of crows bit. Like all these birds that are like around him or the scarecrow are being caught up in this wire mesh and like they're trapped essentially.
I defend my idle friends, tell me where the time I went a productive in 5 minutes, caught up in a spider web dialect. Why would you admire this? I invent my defects are high, it's just a side effect.
He defends all of his, like whatever he does, and his idle friends are just like, yo, where did all the time go? A product of environment is caught up in the spider web. So maybe he's saying that he is a product of his environment, or his friends are a product of their environment, and they're just trapped in the spider web. Because, I mean, I think it's his friends because they're just kind of idle. And if you're in a spider web, you can't really do much. You're just kind of stuck there. Like you can try to struggle, but eventually you're going to get eaten unless someone takes you out of it. Also, assuming that there's a spider large enough to trap you in its web. But also, it could just be going, the spiderweb dialect. Why would you admire this? So, the spiderweb dialect could be just intricate words play. Like, why would you admire this sort of speak? Like, but it's fun.
Careful cause I might affect you. A cook on my defense, a phalanx, fence full of talons. Ask me anything, I'll deflect it with talent.
So he cooks up his defense like a phalanx. A phalanx is just a large, I guess, organized group of men back in like the Greek days, I believe it was. So it's, I forgot exactly how many rows and how many columns of people, but it's just basically a huge defense of men who are just ready to fight. But this fence or defense is full of talons, so going into the crows and ravens that he mentioned earlier. So his phalanx is made of birds, or well, crows. And then if you ask him anything, he'll deflect it with talent, which goes into the next line.
Reflections infected with malice, amputate me, I'll reanimate after they leave limbs hanging by a limb. I can master gangrene when the path that I travel is dilapidating and daydreams that I have at decapitate kings.
So the deflecting with talent is basically in the reflections that are infected with malice. So it's almost like he's putting up a mirror, and all these things that are trying to come at him in a negative way, I'm assuming, are basically realizing that, like, yo, we're just full of malice. But then they still go and amputate him. At least that could be one way to think of it. But he will reanimate after they leave, even if he is being amputated, and even if his limbs are hanging by a limb. They probably just cut him up and strung his body parts up in a tree or something. And then he kind of goes back and he's like, I think after all this, like once he's basically amputated and taken apart, he's like daydreaming about the times that he has decapitated kings. And that's the song, because it goes back into the chorus after that. This is really cool because it kind of loops back like cyclically again, because like the chorus mentions Samsara. He knows he's getting his karma. So everything that just happened to him, like him getting amputated, cut up, and like basically strung up in a tree, is karma. And he knows that he's going to come back anyway, so he's going to go back and basically repeat everything that just happened. I really enjoyed this song. It's a bit different from the last track they put out, Gasoline, being that it's a little bit more, I guess, toned down. It's like Gasoline was pretty high energy in comparison. That does make me curious as to if Gasoline is going to be on this EP, because if it is, it's going to be interesting. I want to see how it flows. If not, I mean, tracks like Samsara they tend to be the ones that I enjoy more from Sadistik, because they're more, I guess, I don't want to say somber sounding, but like they're just more laid back, but they're still layered in terms of what he's trying to say. But anyways, I enjoyed the song. I'm looking forward to whatever we get next. I'm not sure when the EP is coming out. I feel like he's probably mentioned it. I think he said, I want to say he said July, but I could be wrong entirely. Probably should have checked that before I started recording. But anyways, let me know in the comments below if I missed anything or misinterpreted anything with these lyrics, because as always, that's a possibility. Because especially with people like Sadistik, like there's a lot more to what they're saying than what is on the surface and what I can kind of dig into, especially if it's stuff that I'm not super familiar with. Like, I'm not super familiar with horror movies. I'm not like too sure what else he could have been saying. But yeah, let me know if I missed anything. And also like and subscribe if you want to see more breakdowns and content like this. Thank you for watching, and please stay safe out there.